rotationally grazing cattle opposes a few issues in the field, like giving them shade, covering their minerals from the rain. Okay. And then moving these things continually. But that's not even the biggest problem. The biggest problem is when you have dairy cows or even goats, and then you need to milk them. Because when they're out in the field, and let's say you have a barn or whatever it is, you're gonna want to take those cows, bring them to their milking area, and then all the way back. And if you don't have a lot of time, or if they're far out in the field, or depending how big your property is, sometimes you just don't want to do that. So coming up with a field option for rotating cattle and milking out in the field is a really important option. This thing needs to be mobile, because when we move our fences, we need to also be able to move this mobile milking station. But it also needs to be strong enough to be able to handle cattle while they're being milked, and if they're being difficult, or all these other things. And I'm sure if you have landed on this video, it's because you have gone through and thought about these same issues again and again. Well, have no fear. We may have helped solve that problem. Ta-da! It is tobacco scaffolding that has wheels and a connection point for a tractor or any other implement, a truck, a Polaris, something, whatever it is, it can hook up to the front, and it has a metal roofing. Right now, it is up and out of the field because I'm gonna be adding stuff to it, and I'm gonna do a full breakdown of what it is, but it's normally out in the field, and we could put minerals underneath here. Let's show you this up close and in detail. I'm gonna first show you some of the details about this, and then I'm gonna show you how the milking stanchion area works, and then we'll go from there. So the first thing is, there's a lot of space underneath, and if we look down at my feet, you could see that there's this bar. This is the bar that goes straight down the center. Something good about this, at first I was gonna weld a bar between these, but the cows like to come in and stand through the middle, and they will be in here under the shade, and their full bodies can fit, and more of them could fit going this way instead of sitting long ways. And this is how it hooks up, the pin system for the back of a tractor. Not a ball, but a pin. Tobacco tractors, I believe, tobacco scaffolding, I believe most of them are gonna work this way. And the nice thing about the tobacco scaffolding is that the frame was already built fully. So it's like this reverse A-frame build where everything's in an upside down, if we want to call it upside down triangle, where it's all based off of this bar. And then we got the big open bars up top so that I can put the roofing on, and I just put the roofing on like this. So I basically just have a 2x4 all the way through the top. The metal is held in really tight to the 2x4s, and then the 2x4s are kind of, I guess, clamping it down. And all of this metal really does keep all of the rain and everything off. Unless the rain is really sideways, then everything works really well under here. Well, I get that you could be watching this from anywhere around the world, and you might not have access to an old tobacco trailer like I did around me. Well, the benefit is this thing, this design, isn't really that hard to figure out, and it's not hard to recreate. If you're handy at all, or if you have somebody in your life who's handy, you might be able to put this together pretty easily. It's just a bar down the center, and then a few backward triangles, like we said, and then wheels on the side, and then a hookup. Honestly, it wouldn't be that hard to recreate, and if you just got some welding skills. The benefit that I had is that I got these things for 50 bucks. I don't think I could get, there's no way that I could get this metal for 50 bucks. So that's one benefit of finding it already pre-built and somebody just trying to get rid of it other than building it yourself. But that's what it is. It's just an old tobacco scaffolding that has a roof on it. Now, if I wanted to, I could put solar panels on top, allowing me to have fans underneath, so solar powered fans in the field for my cows. What an awesome utility that would be. They would just sit here right on the top, right on the roof. One cool thing about these designs is that the wheels are braced by these extra bars, and that gives me the perfect amount of room to be able to put half of a barrel in here, and this is where I feed the cows when I do start to milk. I have water in here right now just because it's up here and I wanted to give them some water. But that's another thing you could do with it too. Have one for water, one for feed. And if I pick this up and move it, these barrels will move with it. So I don't have to do much moving either, especially if there's water in there too, it would still drag it. And now for the field milking portion. Right here is where I can do all of the milking. And they have 2 sections. So for 2 cows, I can hook them up directly next to each other. And I tie their lead up to this side. Over here, they can't move their heads over to each side, trying to grab the food from the other bucket anyway. Right now, the way that I'm tying them up is just by a rope. And this is very temporary. I have a lot more ideas for what to do here, but this is just a temporary way of, they don't strangle themselves into anything. They don't even pull on this, but this is just to keep them here just in case, so that they'll stay here until I'm done milking. Again, this is gonna change in the future, but this is where I'm at the moment. And what I mean by temporary is, I don't have a gate for them, for their heads. I don't really need a gate for their heads because of the way this whole setup works. And I actually don't have to rely on having a harness or a necklace on them all the time. I see some people say that their harnesses or necklaces have strangled their cow on something, and I don't have to really worry about that if I just tie them up this way, but this is how they sit and eat. One great thing about this design is that it has this middle bar right here. So because I milk 2 cows at a time, they're both contained in their own area, and I don't really have to worry about it too much because of these cross beams, right? I have this one in the center and one on each side, and it really does help keeping them move back and forth. If my cows really had an issue, I could put bars between these to keep the cows from moving their backside back and forth, or even right here between this bar, I could put something so it would block the face between the 2 cows so they don't try to go and get each other's feed buckets right here. But because this metal bar in the center is here, and I tie their lead up to this side, over here, they can't move their heads over to each side, trying to grab the food from the other bucket anyway. And I don't know if you can tell from when I was milking and when I'm in here now, that is a lot of room behind. Even especially when the cows are leaning over this way and most of their heads, their shoulders are all the way forward. If I needed some sort of stanchion gate thing, I could put that between these bars. It's something that I have considered adding as an upgrade, especially for shots or palpating or any of that kind of stuff. I could get them more solid right here. But I mean, I don't really need it. My cows don't really have that kind of an issue, but I could add that if I wanted to. And speaking of add-ons, that's actually why this is up here. I want to add something up here, a small shelf, so that I could keep stuff like my fly spray or other milking supplies that don't need to be sanitized or cleaned all the time, just like spray bottles and stuff. I want them up here and out of the way so the cows, this could be out in the field, I can lift this, move it. They're always out here. I don't really have to look for them. And I know that they're just right here on the top, grab and go. And they're not in a place that the cows can get them or knock anything over. And I also want some place to be able to put my stool, so that has like a hookup spot or just something that I don't have to deal with, or it's not on the ground also. Now, let's say I was in the position that I wasn't just milking 2 cows and I wanted to do, I don't know, I would have to measure, but let's say 5 cows. I would maybe set up down this center line where their heads come over and they feed from the opposite end, and then have some sort of bar system to where they're just latched in here. You can kind of see it between that pole and this pole, and the cows would reach over to get the feed this way. So that's another way that you can effectively go about this and not just have it in this back area. But the back area back here is just so convenient that, man, I'm still in the shade, here we are. It's just so convenient that this really, I think, is the way to set it up, especially on a small scale, which I think most of you are probably going to be doing. And then that inside spot can be for water, minerals, hay, whatever you want that for. I try to keep it so that it's open so the cows can get shade, but you can use it for whatever you want. Before we move on, I really want to show you this surrounding it so you can get a good idea of what it looks like. Wheels in the back, hookup in the front, and it's just huge all the way around. Now about this bar down the center, not all tobacco scaffolding is the same. You might think it is, but it's not, and not all have these bars down the center. I have another one that I haven't done any work to yet. Let me go show you that one and show you how different it is, so that if you do want to go this route, you can keep that in mind. Now this one is a slightly different configuration in design. It still has the A-frame, the upside down A-frame model, the design. It's shorter. The tongue is shorter in the front, and it's actually a little bit shorter on the side, so it's not as wide. And the other thing is, right over here in the back, it does not have that middle bar down the back. So if I was going to milk 2 cows in here, for one, there's not tons of room back here, and there is no middle bar down the back. So even if I was going to add that middle bar, I still am not 100% sure if I would feel comfortable putting both cows like I did, milking them at the same exact time, just letting them chill there. This probably would be better as a 1 cow at a time setup. And just as some ideas, really, this doesn't have to be fully in the field with them. This could be at the edge of where you have the cows, and they could still have access to this inside area, and then you can have, however you're like keeping them out, whether it's hotline or whatever, you can put the hotline here, drag it out this way, and then down. So you'd essentially be letting the cows out over into this back end, and then putting them back into the field so they still have access to their covered hay minerals or whatever that is. Or even just, this could just be your covered barn area, and this might not even be in the field with them. You could just have it out while you're rotating. They don't have access to this, and then you bring them over to it, and it's just right next to the field they're in. But still, it has this underneath area where they can come under and go under. And also, since I'm telling you the differences between this scaffolding and the other, this one's a little bit shorter. So as you can see, actually, you probably saw how tall that one was. My head hits here. And there was another one that I almost picked up that is actually shorter than this even in the back. The back was way longer. It was wider even, but that back end was really far back, and then it curved down, and it was pretty low in the back. Would have been fine for the cows, but it would have been pretty annoying for me in the case of being out in the field and milking. But just for technically the ease of building it yourself, I bet these were homemade anyway, because if we look at them, this bar looks different, and then the way they hooked this up is pretty cool. I'm not sure what they did. That's not a common hookup for a tire. It's just one bar across, and then I'm curious on how they put this in. It's just held in right there, and then that's how it's spinning. So this was totally a DIY project. And also, if you are one of the people that want to build one of these yourself, make sure it's not a thin metal, because I am not sure if I would trust the cows around this rubbing up against it if it was an aluminum or something. So these are really thick steel, and the cows cannot hurt this, and I feel way comfortable with it out there in the field. Well, I know how tricky it is to come up with an idea about field milking, so I really hope that this helped you out and helped you either. Maybe you take this design and try it yourself. Wow, look how tall this is in comparison to the other one. But hopefully you could take this design, make it your own, or come up with something similar. I think this is a great way to do field milking. And also, you've probably seen this thing in the back. I filmed a video about it when I was way less comfortable on camera, so it might be a fun watch. Check that out. That's my chicken coop. And if you want to see the workings of how that worked, home built on top of a trailer, I'll make sure to link that video at the end. You might find that interesting, especially if you like field milking cows. Now with that, I'll see you next time. Here's some B-roll at the end of me having this in action. Do consider to subscribe and follow along, and hopefully you can find out some more tips like making field milking possible and easy. See you next time. Wait, hold on. This is also good as a mobile shelter for anything, not just field milking. And if you had goats, you could do the same thing too. I just want to make that clear. This could be used for any of them. And I also heard from the guy that was picking up the scaffolding of some people using this and turning it all into a chicken coop. So there's an idea too. Okay, now see you next time. one of the really nice things about this is that, well, today I got a little bit later out to doing this, and even though the sun's out and it's warm outside, I'm in the shade, and it doesn't matter if it's raining, snowing, sideways rain might have a little bit of effect, but if it's raining, I could still come out here and milk. And there's so much cover that I really don't have to worry about sun, any of the stuff I mentioned. Like, I don't have to worry about it. It's really nice to be able to be under here milking.